Hey guys, welcome to A Film Darkly. I'm your host Anthony Paceno, and today I'm going to do a review of Justice League. I watched this movie at 6 p.m., got out about 8:30, because Regal Cinemas has about 20 to 25 minutes worth of trailers. Not joking. Maya Cinemas has about 8 minutes of trailers, or 5. Just saying. Anyways, I went over Rotten Tomatoes 37% score and looked at the top 43 critics, and I am blown away. I really am. I don't understand these critic ratings, because what I'm going to tell you is this movie's great. It's the most fun I've had all year. By far more fun than any other superhero film I've seen this year. I thought Thor Ragnarok was very fun, and I thought this movie blew Thor Ragnarok away. Granted, I am a comic book fan, and that has to be said. You know, like the critic Joe Morgenstern said from Wall Street Journal. He said Justice League is a crowd pleaser only if you're part of a comics obsessed crowd. Now, I don't necessarily agree with him, but he's talking to me, because that is what I am. I'm a comic obsessed individual. I'm part of that crowd. And I thought this movie is very, very enjoyable, because it did a lot of things I've been waiting to see for years. But if I could just break it down in terms of a movie, I thought this movie was just fun. I really thought it was fun. I liked the fast-paced, sort of environment that not environment, but I just liked how fast-paced it was, and how action-packed it was, and how it managed to still take times to breathe and to give you good story. I enjoyed the characters. I thought the character development was done very well. I thought that the action scenes were just phenomenal. And I thought that the cinematography was great. But every Zack Snyder film has great cinematography. I also thought that the storyline was really coherent. And I do not understand at all the negativity toward the main villain, Steppenwolf. If you've been watching or listening to reviews, you're going to hear a lot of people say Steppenwolf was not a great villain. I disagree. I disagree by far. I have thought so far that most of the DC films have had far better villains than the Marvel films have had, and I think this is another one that just lines right up in there, because you have a real world breaker in here. You have a real world beater, and to me, that is a greater villain than a guy who could just play tricks, or some elf who's just trying to control an ether. Like, to me, this is like a legit villain and a legit threat, and I really like that about this film. I thought Steppenwolf was great. I thought they gave him more than enough screen time. So I think it's interesting, because like I've seen that more than once. Even with the last Pirates of the Caribbean movie, a lot of people were saying Javier Bardem wasn't in the film very much, and I'm like, and I went to see it, and I didn't like that movie at all. But Javier Bardem was in it a lot, and he was probably the only saving grace of that film. So I was like, wow, like, I don't know what to say. I feel weird about it, because I feel like no, I can't help but disagree with you guys on these points. So I thought Justice League was an incredibly fun film. I think, like I said, the most fun I've had all year. Very entertaining, great, coherent. Negativities. The CGI was bad. At times. Some people said it was really, really terrible. I didn't think it was that terrible. It didn't take me out of the movie. I just thought, like, Steppenwolf, I didn't think needed too much work. Except that they kind of made him somewhat cartoony, his body. Like, he had big hands. I felt like bigger hands than his body, kind of, sort of thing. Other than that, I thought that the CGI in Cyborg was the only thing that was iffy. There were moments where it felt like they didn't render. But at the end of the movie, we actually see something with Cyborg, with his armor, that happens that's like, oh crap, maybe this whole time we just been seeing an armor in transmission, or in transferring, like in the middle of transition, I mean to say. So I don't know, but I just thought about that. So I thought it was interesting, though. I mean, the the CGI had some negativities. If I could just grade the CGI alone, on a scale out of 5, I would say it was probably about a 3 out of 5. So I didn't think it was so terrible, but I didn't think it was great either. I thought it was like right in between. The other thing was I felt like there was a couple of times they should have breathed when they didn't. And because of that, some of the action scenes, especially the finale, I thought kind of suffered. So I thought the ending kind of suffered, though, because I just felt like it got a little convoluted. It was just a little convoluted. And that was probably my only issue with this film, was that the ending had got kind of convoluted with it. And I think there was a couple of scenes where I felt like it did the same thing Thor Ragnarok did, where it didn't take the time to allow dramatic effect to fall, and it kind of moved along too quickly. And that was one of my issues as well with the film. But otherwise, I thought this movie was great. I thought it was fun. If I scored it at 5, I gave it a 4 out of 5. If I scored it at 10, I would say the equivalent to that would be probably about an 8 out of 10. So for me, it's about an 8 out of 10. I mean, I enjoyed this movie a lot. If there is an ultimate cut that adds more to it, I actually think adding more to this film would not work. And that's the total opposite of what you're hearing critics say. But this is a movie where I actually tweeted a little while ago that this is a movie that's going to go down as one of those films that general audiences loved and critics hated. And I could just tell that's what's going to happen. Rotten Tomatoes has it at 37%, like I said. And I have a feeling audience scores are going to be more like at 70. I really do feel that way. I don't think audience scores almost never match. But I really don't think audience scores will even come close to matching on this one. I think it's going to be a far cry of difference, where even if you did the math and you try to find those people who scored it on Rotten Tomatoes that were like the legitimate scorers like myself, what you're going to find is that even those people still a far cry of difference. And I consider myself a critic. I do. I judge movies. I tend to judge movies very harshly. I just didn't see the same issues. And it may be the bias of being a comic book fan. I don't know. But as far as DC films are concerned, this is by far my favorite. I liked it more than Wonder Woman. I thought its pacing was about as good as Wonder Woman, but I thought it was ultimately more fun than Wonder Woman. And that's what puts it more up there for me. Over Wonder Woman, I thought it had better action than Wonder Woman did, and a far better ending, in my opinion. And Wonder Woman herself is fantastic in this movie. Flash is funny and great. Batman is... Ben Affleck is Batman, okay? He is, because he's just perfect. Either that or Zack Snyder just really knows how to do Batman. Cyborg, fantastic. I actually liked him. Even though he didn't look that great, I liked him as a character. I thought Aquaman, Jason Momoa did great as Aquaman. I thought he was really fun. We get a little bit of his world, and so I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm excited to see where a lot of stuff goes. I really am. I'm excited because there was so much in this, especially in the end credits scene, that's just leaning onto a bigger world. The way I'd say it, I thought it was said best, and I'm going to say it like this. If you're a fan of the Justice League cartoon, and you wanted to see a live action version of that, this movie is it. This movie is it. It runs like a Justice League cartoon, but it's live action. That's how I felt about it. So if you can enjoy one of those, if you can love one of those, and you can accept some of those inherent flaws that come with a cartoon that's not looking to please adult audiences in general, or maybe all people, that's precisely what you're going to have in Justice League. And that's not a slight toward Justice League. It's a triumphant victory for Justice League, because Justice League knows its audience and is trying hard to pertain to that audience. And I think it's doing a fantastic job. This movie was great. I think this movie trumps over every Marvel movie I've seen this year and every DC film, which was just Wonder Woman. And I don't think Wonder Woman's like far cry from it. I think Wonder Woman's like right behind it. But I did think this movie was really, really fun. I thought it was great. And don't listen to critics. Just see it for yourself. if you feel like I feel, you're gonna come out of the theater and almost want to go buy a ticket to see it again right then and there. I would have done it if I didn't have homework and things to do tomorrow, for preparation tomorrow at school. So anyways, thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoy this review. See ya.